and welcome to another week of Evil Dread. I'm Wyeth.
And I'm Lynn.
And this week we have Evil Fish, courtesy of the U.S. military.
Oh god, it's always the whites, isn't it?
We
America.
watched the Korean film The Host, not to be confused with...
the Stephanie Meyer, The Host, which has a whopping 8% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Jeez.
Because I like to Google, I like to IMDb the movies we watch.
On par with the Emoji Movie.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I feel like that's like 0, though.
Couple people gave it positive reviews.
Gross.
There are people in America... Well, this is Trump's America. So what do we expect?
The Emoji Movie, Trump's America, poisoning the Han River in Seoul. So, yeah.
So...
This is a Bong Joon-ho film, someone we're a big fan of here. This is kind of his first film to hit it big, right? 2006?
This was very well received.
And I feel like it was the first time I personally had heard of, like, a Korean film, you know? But, I mean, I was in 7th grade. So it was, it was big enough for me to hear about it as, like, a dumbass little child.
Yeah, it came out in, like, mid-high school for me, and I remember it being in theaters, but because it was rated R, my parents were like, you can't see this. But really, this is as... Like, aside from, like, language, it's as tame as, like, Jurassic Park.
Oh, yeah. I didn't understand really why it was rated R, you know? But it's kind of Korea's answer to a kaiju movie in kind of a lesser form. Like, he's not big. He's not gigantic.
No. But it has a lot of the same spirit as, like, the 1954 Godzilla.
Yes.
Like, the U.S. military has... goof things up and resulted
real hard.
It resulted in things coming out of the water to terrorize people.
Yes, so the film begins with 2 workers in, I believe, a morgue, correct? In 2000. And there's, like, a nice Korean guy, and then there's, like, an old white asshole American guy who is Herschel from The Walking Dead, right?
Really?
I recognized him immediately. I haven't watched The Walking Dead since, like, season 3, but I'm like, oh, that's the old-ass man from Walking Dead, and he was in, like, In Cold Blood. Yeah. So he, like, demands this Korean guy, he's like, I don't like dust. Pour all this formaldehyde down the fucking drain. He's like, what? That's not cool.
Because it leads directly to the Han River.
Yeah, and he's like, that's a big river. It's not gonna matter. Americans with their polluted ways.
Which is a real baby boomer outlook to... to solving the pollution crisis. Out of mind, out of sight.
Fast forward 6 years later, some fish just apparently drank a whole lot of formaldehyde while it was growing up.
Now has 2 front legs, a trapeze tail,
yeah,
and lots of different mandibles.
Oh, they're like the layers of mouths and like the amount of vagina looking that's inside it is crazy.
There's tons of tongues and moving parts to that mouth.
It's nasty. So we focus on... I don't recall his name. What's his name? Can we call him Blonde Fellow?
Yes.
Wyeth has IMDb up like a good movie reviewer.
Park. His name is Park Gong-doo.
Yeah, they call him Gong-doo. Okay. Yeah. So he is kind of a fuck up.
He's
in life.
An idiot son.
Yeah.
And, it's obvious that he's kind of slow developmentally.
Yeah, they talk about that. So, he works at his father's, like, concession stand. He has a daughter who's in 7th grade, so she's, like, 12 or so. And he's, like, narcoleptic.
Something like that.
He's not, quick on the draw on a lot of things.
Like, this whole family, it's the dad, this guy, the daughter... and the dad has 2 other children.
Yes.
Another son and a daughter.
And the daughter is, like, a bronze medalist in archery, and they're watching her on TV at the beginning, and I'm like, that's a really odd detail. I wonder how that's gonna come back, and it does.
This whole family is, like, Korea's answer to the Royal Tenenbaums.
Elaborate, please.
They're very eccentric. I like them more than the Tenenbaums. I found that movie super pretentious.
Okay.
That's just my fresh hot take.
Even Richie?
I don't remember.
Richie's nice. He's the tennis player who tries to kill himself.
I hated that scene, so...
Well, he's sweet, though. Anyway,
I do love Luke Wilson. Anyway, so yeah, this family is very eccentric, very down on their luck.
Yeah.
Because the sister who's the archer hesitates at the competition
at the last minute, and she like misses the time loop, which makes her only be eligible for a bronze medal.
Yeah, she would have gone gold, but she froze.
And then it took me a minute to figure out what the other brother did, and he's just kind of like they talk about him like protesting at college. So he's kind of like, I don't know.
He used to be a political activist, but then he graduated college and now he's like working for the man.
Yeah, which, God, ain't that the way.
Ain't that just...
But, okay. So everyone is kind of having an outdoor picnic, right? There's something happening.
There's, so the concession stands on the banks of the Han River, like it's a popular walking area.
Yeah. So everyone sees something hanging off the bottom of this bridge, and they're like, what is that? Is that construction equipment? It's moving. Okay, it's a giant creature, and it goes into the water, and they act very ignorant towards it, throwing trash and food.
Yeah, it's very, like, the typical, the people you see at the zoo who pound on the glass right next to the sign that says, please don't pound on the glass.
Yes. So, this giant creature jumps out of the water and kind of massacres everyone.
Yeah! Like, I remember seeing it for the first time and just being, like, really shocked that they showed the creature. Like,
early.
So early, yeah.
Yeah, right out the cage, dude.
The movie kind of, like, throws away the typical rule book of monster movie, you know? The slow build, and only at the climax do you see it.
So that was a great scene. I love it's like a really extended sequence of everyone trying to get away from this thing, trying to fight it, trying to hurt it or kill it. And in the process, Gong-hoo's daughter is taken by the creature.
Like, this movie feels kind of slapstick in some parts.
Yeah, weirdly.
Because in the chaos, like, at one point he's, like, he has a hold of his daughter's hand, he's running, he trips and keeps running, and he looks back, and he's holding the hand of a different little girl.
Yeah. There's some weird, like, visual tricks like that kind of make it seem lighter than it is, I guess. Like, the tone is a bit confusing to me, because I feel like obviously this is a huge blockbuster, like, action movie, monster movie.
Yeah.
One of, like, the signature films of Korean cinema, because it was so popular and did so well overseas. So it was, like, trying to be populist and, like, Spielbergian. But I feel like there's a disconnect between some of, like, there's the suspense that we want to be there and kind of the humor that's in there now.
Well, I feel like Bong Joon-ho does that a lot.
Yes.
Like, my favorite movie of his is Snowpiercer.
Yes.
And that movie is crazy in terms of tone.
Yeah, it's like hardcore bleak most of the time. But it has moments of just really weird, whimsical... Like
the New Year's Eve bridge or whatever.
Yes, yeah. And when they go into the teaching car with all the kids who
and
are
Allison Pill, yeah.
Yeah. It's wild, but I feel like, I don't know, it seems a little bit more cohesive to me, I guess, because it is in, like, such a heightened environment.
And yeah, I'll agree. The host and Okja, they both switch kind of tones and almost genres, so often that can be a little jarring, but it makes things, like, really interesting.
That's true. I mean, I would take this over, like, a boring movie any day. It's absolutely wild and kind of hard to follow.
Like, all the genres and tones are really done well. It's just that they come so quickly.
Yes. So this basically becomes a rescue movie. Like, this whole family has to find the little girl who is kind of, they think she's dead, but apparently the creature, like, puts people in its mouth, goes back to its little nest area, and then spits them out and kind of lets them live there until it's ready to eat them.
Yeah, puts them in a little holding cell.
In the sewers of Seoul.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I thought it was interesting because we're not used to seeing, like, a family team-up movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I've ever seen that, really, in an action film, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I can think of, like... well, we'll talk about this later, but Poltergeist, since that's fresh on my mind.
Yeah.
That has, like, the family come together, but never to the extent of, like, there's there's, like, basically a montage in the host of this family arming themselves and going out hunting and searching.
Like, it's kind of more of a testament to, like, familial relationships in a way that I really wasn't expecting. I expected it to be the dad going after the daughter, but, like, what we'll get to at the end, without any one of them, I don't think it would have worked. They all had to work together to save their niece/daughter/granddaughter, which was really cool. I like that. It's this perspective you don't get to see very often in action movies.
Yeah, this is a family of some real fuck-ups. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But they love each other, and it's obvious. And I like that it's not a cynical family. Like, they don't get along, but that doesn't stop them from, like, working together.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, this movie might be cynical about the U.S. military, and for good reason.
Who isn't, you know?
Well, but it's nice to see a movie show people who like each other.
Exactly. I mean, I'm a huge fan of shows and movies where people don't like each other and they have to learn to like each other or work together or whatever. But yeah, there was a real, like, emotional thread in this that I could, and I think any viewer or audience could, like, easily grasp onto.
Like, well, first of all, this movie is so well shot.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's so good to look at. The rain it's raining 90% in this movie, and it looks great.
Yeah.
But the scene where they're out hunting and they take a break to stop back at the concession stand, and this is a really quiet movie too.
Yes.
And they're all quietly eating, and the daughter slowly fades into the picture as if she's still there with them. I thought that was a really touching scene.
Yeah, they take breaks from the kind of silliness and horror of it to remind you, like, this is a very personal and human story about a family who's missing someone.
This, like, the movie I would compare The Host to most is Jaws.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone loves the scene where Chief Brody is just kind of, like, at the dinner table after a really bad day, and he's just kind of, like, playfully hanging out with his son.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a great moment just to, like, it's a quiet moment to show you more about the character.
Yes. And I think in monster movies, that's something that's lacking a lot of the time. It's like, why do I care if these people are killed or menaced or attacked by this monster? Like, you kind of have to develop a relationship with the characters in order to care about them.
You need... I think world building can be done very well by showing the mundane.
Yes, I agree.
Like family moments with Jaws, just the suckiness of being on, like, a trucking job in deep space in Alien.
Yeah.
Or just, like, simple family dysfunction in The Host.
See, and I think, to kind of go off a little bit, that might be where Jurassic World failed for me. Especially in one scene there's a extremely violent death of kind of the personal assistant character who we knew nothing about other than that she was tasked with taking care of these kids and she wasn't a big fan of that.
Yeah, that felt unnecessarily mean.
Yeah, it was hardcore, up close. She's getting ripped apart by these pterodactyls for no reason other than being a slightly less pleasant female character. And it would have been more effective if we knew more about her. It felt... If it was from afar, it could have been a gag. You know, if it was a long shot. But it was so up close, it was like, what are you wanting to make me feel? Because there's nothing that's been earned right now, my emotional reaction, other than, like, surprise and shock.
Well, as we've mentioned before on the show, Colin Trevorrow is not in the best of standings with us.
He can just, like, stop.
Yeah. But yeah, for me, like, a monster movie needs a human element. Like, even something as silly as, like, Tremors. Like, with Kevin Bacon or Fred Ward's character in the very first one, they felt real. All those characters felt fairly grounded. Yeah. Even though it was very much a slapstick movie.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the emotional access point, and the host has it in spades, really. I was kind of disappointed about the red herring of the virus, because there's... One of the main points of the film, plot points, is that whoever gets close to this creature is subject to contracting a virus, and that's why the creature's called the host. So I'm like, it must be really important since it's the title. But, so Jong-ho is, like, suspected of having this virus, and he's kept in quarantine, and it's bureaucracy at its worst, and all these doctors and police officers not letting him go find his daughter. And then at the end we realize there is no virus.
It's the U.S. military is perpetuating the story about the virus in order to keep the public, so that the public doesn't find out that they were the ones kind of responsible for allowing this creature to come into creation. Yeah,
it's incredibly critical of the U.S. military and, like, I guess international intervention, stuff like that. Chemical warfare.
Based off a true story.
Really?
There was an actual, like, I forget if he was military or not, but an actual American citizen who ordered the dumping of all these chemicals into the Han River. He was prosecuted and found guilty, but the U.S. refused to turn him over.
Wow. Okay.
So
good on us. I guess.
Yep. So I think
Korea.
think this was in the second Bush era. Yeah, okay. It was. So that should say something.
Wow. Okay. So this was kind of responding to something current at the time, because this was 2006.
Yeah, it was a deeply divisive moment because for Koreans, because how can you, because they weren't able to prosecute someone who committed this major atrocity, and they weren't able to, like, fulfill justice.
Wow. Well, that makes sense. The tone of this movie. Yeah, I think it's like, it really shows Bong Joon-ho's political leanings, which isn't a bad thing. I think his movies, their political nature are some of their strengths.
Yeah.
Okja specifically. I feel like a lot that was attempted here was, for me, fulfilled more so by Okja. I know Wyatt disagrees, and that's okay. But, like, at the end, where all those people were protesting Agent Yellow, which is, like, toxic chemical they were going to use to kill the host, it reminded me so much of the protest scenes in Okja.
Yeah. Yeah, there's... Both the host and Okja have kind of an environmental theme.
Yes,
of absolutely. Caring for our environment. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, and even Snowpiercer.
Yeah, that's right. The disaster that happened to the world in that movie is as a result of, like, we got global warming, so we're going to cause it or try and treat it by
putting cold into the air.
Yeah.
I don't know the technical terms, but it causes a second ice age, and all of society's classes have to get on this train that goes around. And he didn't even write that, Bong Joon-ho. That's based on a French comic, but he always chooses films that seem incredibly timely and very cognizant of political issues, especially environmental issues, which is really cool. And they're entertaining as hell, also.
Yeah. And so yeah, a lot of the movie is the family hunting for the monster and the daughter. And so the climax is at the release of the Agent Yellow.
Yes.
And did you feel sorry for the monster at the end?
Not really. I mean, I wasn't sure how I was supposed to feel about the monster, I think, because I'm assigning it a gender. The monster keeps the girl and this other little boy, this homeless boy, he keeps them alive, right?
Yeah, for food.
Okay. Well, I felt like there was some kind of motivations being ascribed to it, especially when the little girl, she makes like a makeshift like rope out of clothes, and to reach it, it's a little too short, so she jumps up on the monster's back to like get away really quickly, and it grabs her right before she can catch it with its tail and puts her back down very gently. And I'm like, is it just keeping them there? Kind of, I don't know. Was it...
I think maybe it just wasn't hungry, because I know some animals can keep prey alive.
Yeah.
I know, like with ants, ants will actually enslave other species of ants and keep them in their colony to do work.
That's messed up. I don't like that.
Ants are awful.
Well, it's odd because this film, the grandfather posits, he's like, the old people would say if an animal killed a person, it should be torn limb from limb. And in Okja, it's such an explicitly like animal rights film. So I don't know. Maybe I was ascribing like emotional motivation to the creature when it was just like it did not care about that girl at all.
I think it's just a purely animal instinct creature, but it's just so miserable looking with all of its like growths.
Yeah.
Because it looks like it absorbed other fish, and they're like flopping against it when it runs.
It looks mutated.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that's what I was thinking. I watched it yesterday, and I'm like, oh, this is just Blinky the three-eyed fish from The Simpsons, but like...
Given a couple years of extra growth.
Yeah, I'm like, this is Blinky's like older brother.
Do you know what the director and some of the crew nicknamed it?
What?
This is really sad.
Okay, what?
Steve Buscemi.
No!
Right? That's
He's
so
a beautiful
sad.
Man.
Steve Buscemi is an angel.
That's so mean.
But
he like helped out on 9/11.
Yeah, he's been known to do a lot of humanitarian stuff.
He is a volunteer firefighter.
But they named it less so about the actual person and more about his character from Fargo.
That's such a weird
thing. They feel like he moves unpredictably in the movie.
Okay. Interesting.
But it's just like, what? Why?
Yeah. Well, at the end, the little girl dies, which felt unsatisfying to me. I guess
it was very sad.
Well, because she survived for days and days without food in this sewer, like hardcore survivalist kind of just like I'm gonna do anything to get out of here. And then at the end, she dies very unceremoniously. They just pull her out, and they pull her out of the thing's body, and she's dead, but the little boy is not.
Here's what I think happened. I don't know if we're meant to infer that, but because they were in like the holding pouch of the mouth or whatever, and they were underwater. I got one of those too. The girl like gave her air to the boy to live.
Oh God. Okay.
So
that's deeply saddening. Okay.
That's what I think happened.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, it just felt like, oh, this is what they were reaching for the entire film, and it's gone. Let's replace her with this boy. Kind of, because they end up taking the homeless boy. His father was eaten by the monster. They take him home. That was his
brother.
And adopt him. Oh, okay. I thought that was his dad. No. It was an older.
Well, the little boy says it's his dream to live in a concession stand where he never runs out of food, which to me was like, oh, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I understand like the emotional arc of it, but I was kind of just like, oh, okay. It kind of feels like you're replacing your daughter with this kid, but okay.
It was very sad to have the daughter die.
Yeah.
And then they end on, well, they killed the monster, they doused it in fire.
Ridiculously amazing fashion. And I loved that.
Yeah.
I was yelling.
The family the surviving members of the family came together to bring it down.
Loved it. So, like, the brother who used to be a political activist is apparently amazing at making Molotov cocktails.
Oh yeah, he knew what he was doing. Make them in the back with Taxi.
Him. He was great. So he's throwing Molotov cocktails at this. It gets doused in at the monster. It gets doused in gasoline.
The MVP homeless man.
Yes, douses it in gasoline, and then the sister dips her arrow into like part of the rag that's on fire because he drops the last one and she shoots it and it's like engulfed in flames.
Yeah.
It's so badass. And it's Doona Bae from Sense8. I haven't watched Sense8, but she's the star of that.
Okay.
And she was great in this movie. I liked her a lot.
She was, this is a very well acted movie. I really like Song, what's his name? Song Kang-ho.
Main guy?
Yeah, main guy. Mm-hmm. He was great in Snowpiercer, and he's great in this. And
the little girl in Snowpiercer, his daughter in Snowpiercer is the little girl in this movie.
Really?
They cast them as father and daughter again.
Well, I guess the director just really likes working with them.
Yeah, and she's great in Snowpiercer.
Oh, she's so good.
Yeah. The main actor in this movie is also the main actor in Park Chan-wook's Thirst.
That's right.
Which Wyatt has been meaning to watch. I have seen, but it was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And we've mentioned it before when we were talking about vampire movies, but it's a really cool concept. It's a priest who gets a blood transfusion and he contracts this virus that like makes him a vampire, not from, any fault of his own, but from giving blood, which is really interesting.
I've heard a lot of good things about his performance in that.
Yeah.
And I feel like it could have, his performance in The Host could have easily, in the hands of like a lesser actor or a lesser director, it could have gone the way of like, this is awful, but Ben Stiller and that whole thing from Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, I feel that. But it was very, like, respectful and, like, made him a full person.
Like, flawed but human.
Yeah, and, like, he's a good dad. Mm-hmm. Like, he's not, traditionally intelligent, but he's very devoted and loyal to his daughter. He genuinely
cares for his daughter, yeah.
He was also the main character in Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, which is an early Park Chan-wook, which is part of the Vengeance trilogy.
That's the one I haven't seen.
Yeah, because the Vengeance trilogy is Old Boy, which I love. I saw recently, actually, for the first time. Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance and Sympathy for Lady Vengeance.
I loved Sympathy for Lady Vengeance.
I need to watch those too, because I haven't seen those. But yeah, we made kind of a list of modern Korean directors and their films that because honestly I don't know a better foreign outlet for films right now. I think Korea is really doing it. We've talked about this before with The Wailing, but Park Chan-wook is one of my favorite directors of all time. He did Stoker, as aforementioned, Old Boy and Thirst, and The Handmaiden, which for my bet was the best movie of 2016. Bong Joon-ho directed this, Okja, Snowpiercer.
And then Ji-won Kim is another big one for me, because he did I Saw the Devil.
Yeah, that's on my list of haven't seen.
Which is a perfect movie, but man, it is intense.
I need to see it. I'm really excited to see it. They do revenge thrillers so well.
And then he also directed this little weird Western called The Good, the Bad, and the Weird.
Yeah.
And that was such a fun movie.
We also loved Train to Busan.
Oh my god.
Which was a huge blockbuster last year. Yeah, 2016 Korea was really doing the most. I loved it.
And I know you hated The Wailing, but that was still an accomplishment.
Yeah, definitely. And they're making big splashes overseas. I Saw the Devil's next on my list, I think.
Be watching for that episode, hopefully soon.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that'll go on our extremely extended long list of movies that we need to be doing and stuff. So yeah, would you recommend The Host? Any
Absolutely.
Final thoughts about The Host?
I'm a big monster movie fan, and it fits well in that wheelhouse. It's also a very caring family movie. It's like just a slightly darker Amblin movie.
Ooh. Yeah, I could see that. Definitely.
Like, there's a lot of Spielbergian elements, like the family.
Yes.
The dysfunctional family that comes together. There's the government cover-up. Mm-hmm. There's the monster.
There's always guys in, like, white hazmat suits in Spielberg movies.
Yeah.
Like, taking things to look at them scientifically.
Mm-hmm. It's like if Super 8 did not have a friendly alien.
That movie came out and it was big, but, like, I have forgotten all about that movie. And no one ever talks about it.
That's true.
It's like the Avatar of like, Spielbergian movies.
It's so much better than Avatar.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But, yeah.
Especially, like, okay, fuck James Cameron.
Oh, my God.
He came out this week and he was like, Wonder Woman wasn't that good. Like, my movies are more feminist. And also, like, independent women are tough because, like, they don't need you as a man. And I'm like... And Patty Jenkins, like, served him his ass on a silver platter. It was great.
What... Dear God, what happened to James Cameron?
He's an asshole. He's like...
Like, he's always been an asshole, but he used to make good movies.
I know, but now he's knee-deep in you know, creating the next 5 Avatar sequels when no one has given a fuck about Avatar in the past 7 years. Yeah. So that was, like, a short rant about James Cameron. Screw him.
So what are your final thoughts on The Host?
I enjoyed it. I don't know. It wasn't what I expected. I thought the pacing was a little odd. For example, I wasn't sure how many days this happened over. Which isn't, like, a huge deal, but that's kind of the same issue I had with The Wailing. I'm like... Which is a similar movie. But
3 hours.
Oh, God. This is, like, a solid 158. Yeah. Like, which I was thankful for. But, yeah, I was like, this girl should be... showing more signs of hunger if this has been longer. This, you know what I mean?
I think it's like just a couple days.
Okay. Well, there's a lot that happens. Yeah. And I wasn't getting those kind of time markers that, like, grounded me in the story. I liked the individual characters a lot. I thought some of the action sequences were brilliant. I don't know. It didn't do it for me 100%. Like, I feel like... Out of the 3 Bong Joon-ho movies I've seen, it's probably my least favorite, but I really loved Okja and Snowpiercer. So it's not a bad movie. Like, if you like monster movies, definitely watch it. It's really cool.
Would you agree that this has one of the prettiest final shots? Because that final shot always has stuck with me since high school.
Yeah, it's lovely. Like, it's super well shot. The cinematography's great. Great acting. The story didn't do it 100% for me. But I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
Solid movie. How's that?
That's good.
Well, would you like to kick off what happened earlier this morning?
Yeah, as with, I'm sure a lot of you do nowadays, I got onto Twitter to see what dumpster fire has been started today.
I do that with Facebook. So, like, in between, like, the world is ending, CBS News, I get, like, here's, like, a little dachshund playing with a flashlight. I'm like, cool. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, Tobe Hooper passed away, the director of Texas Chainsaw 1 and 2, Poltergeist, Salem's Lot.
Yep. And, so yeah, only a few weeks ago we were lamenting the death of George Romero, and now another one of the giants of the genre has passed, which sucks. Like, he wasn't even that old. He was 69, I think.
I feel like out of all of what we've termed the old guard, he was kind of...
He was kind of the underdog of them.
Yeah, like Texas Chainsaw is like a genre-defining movie.
Seminal.
But, like, after that, he didn't
do much.
Yeah, like, not, like, as much recognition as Craven or even Romero.
Yeah. I don't know. It came out recently, and I have mixed feelings about this. It came out recently, I think it was an op-ed on Bloody Disgusting, that someone who worked on the set of Poltergeist came out and confirmed this long-running rumor, which was Tobe Hooper basically AD'd that movie, and Steven Spielberg actually directed most of it, and Zelda Rubinstein came out, she passed, but in the past she has come out and said, Steven was the only one who ever directed me, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like, and they framed it like, Spielberg, for his career, didn't think directing a horror movie would be the right way to go, but he loved the material and wanted to do it. So Tobe Hooper was kind of a second unit director, but took all the credit. So, and I don't think there was any bad blood or ill will there.
That's good.
Which was great. So I don't like that it's discrediting Tobe Hooper for that and kind of assigning it to someone who has a lot of clout anyway.
Yeah.
And a huge legacy.
Well, I'm sure Poltergeist, I'm sure his influence was probably immeasurable.
Oh yeah, definitely.
On that set.
It just seemed more collaborative than...
Which I think there should be equal credit then.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not like what happened to Guillermo del Toro with Mimic, which Harvey Weinstein is a garbage person.
Are we talking about Tulip Fever though?
What?
Okay, go on. I'll say it in a second.
Oh God. Well, what happened with Mimic? Del Toro started showing the results of what he'd been filming, and the Weinsteins were unhappy with it because they wanted a more straightforward monster movie.
Yeah.
And with Del Toro, that's not what you're going to get.
Shape of Water.
Oh my God. And so they brought in, to do reshoots, they brought in Robert Rodriguez.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What?
So very different styles.
I love both of them.
Yeah.
But, wow. They're like, oh, he's a Mexican horror director. Nope.
Grindhouse.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
And so that's Guillermo del Toro has only in recent years, there was a re-release of Mimic that adhered more closely to his vision. And only since then he's been more this is my movie once again.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's wild.
Yeah.
And I really like Rodriguez. No hate on Rodriguez, but they are different directors.
I like Rodriguez too.
So the Tulip Fever thing, have you heard about that?
I have not.
Okay, so that's a movie that has been done since 2010, and it has been continually pushed back, and Jesus. I think it's opening at the end of this month. Finally. After 7 years.
There's so many good movies that get stuck in development hell.
Well, and it's supposedly not a good movie.
Oh, no. But Cabin in the Woods.
Yes. Oh my God, that was so long. Chris Hemsworth was famous by the time that came out.
Yeah, he went from zero to hero, you could say.
Oh my God. Okay, Hercules.
You mean Huncules?
I hate you. Oh my God. Okay, back to the subject at hand.
Wait. Harvey Weinstein. Back to how he's awful. He said, and I quote, about why he wasn't giving Snowpiercer a wider release.
Oh yeah, that was the thing.
No one will want to see it in places like Oklahoma. He said that.
Holy shit. I saw it in a theater in Arkansas.
I have friends that saw it here in Oklahoma, so I feel like that was the biggest, F you.
Fuck you, dude.
God, he's the worst.
Oh my God. Yeah, he wouldn't release Snowpiercer without significant cuts. And then he wanted
a voiceover and everything.
Ew. Yeah. Oh my God. No. Trust your audience. It's not hard to follow. Not everything has to be spoon-fed, Miramax. Okay.
Anyway.
Our rant is over. Sorry, Weinsteins. All of that was alleged also. But Tobe Hooper, R.I.P. He wasn't as prolific as everyone else, but he really did set the tone for everything that has come after with Texas Chainsaw.
Which created the redneck horror genre.
Yeah,
I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of put cannibalism as a
Did
genre.
it come out before or after Deliverance?
I don't know. I think it was 73. I don't know. You have a phone. You can look it up. I'll talk for a second while you look it up.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of Texas Chainsaw. I watched it in an undergrad introduction to film class, which that teacher was ballsy as hell showing that.
I have not seen it. I've always been afraid to.
Well, Wyeth has put it on our list for Thanksgiving, and this was before Tobe Hooper passed. We were already planning to do this, so watch out for a Thanksgiving episode where you can celebrate dinner with your family by having dinner with the Sawyers and dinner being you.
Oh man.
So that'll be fun. Was it 73?
Deliverance came out in 72. Chainsaw Massacre came out in 74.
Wow.
So I wonder how much Chainsaw owes to Deliverance.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like in terms of tone, they're very different. Also, I don't know if Deliverance would be considered like a hardcore horror movie.
I absolutely would.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think in terms of subject matter, yes, but I don't know if in, like, the popular culture it was considered a horror movie, because it, like, got Oscars and stuff.
Yeah, well, so did The Exorcist.
Yeah, that's true.
That was a time when the Oscars were almost genre-friendly.
Almost, not any longer. Why is still upset about Arrival?
There's a long string of genre snubs by the Oscars that we don't have the time to get into.
Oh, maybe we can do an episode sometime.
I would love to rant about that.
We would go off.
But yeah, between Deliverance and Texas Chainsaw, that was the birth of hillbilly horror.
Yes, which is still one of my least favorite genres. Just because it hits too close to home, you know?
Yeah, I get that. We see some of these people in the streets of our town.
I grew up in an incredibly small town, and then there were even smaller communities where we called Up on the Mountain, which wasn't actually a mountain. It was just a large hill, like, kind of behind town. And it was all these, like, backwoods roads, and everyone, like, lived off the land, and kind of... There was one grocery store up there, and... Yeah, it's pretty scary. So, like, I don't know, too real for me.
One of the standout childhood vacations... Not stand out in necessarily a good way, was my dad's big into, like, genealogy.
Yeah.
And he tracked some branch of the family tree to a cemetery in Arkansas.
Ooh, where?
It was easily 6th grade when we went.
Okay.
And all I remember is driving down a gravel road with Spanish moss hanging all in the trees, hanging over the road, and it was like it was middle of the day, but because of like how dense the woods and trees were, it was like dark and creepy, and so we wandered around this half-abandoned graveyard.
Oh my god, that sounds amazing.
Like, even though at 6th grade, like, I hadn't seen a lot of scary movies.
You knew what to be scared of.
I knew.
Your animal instincts kicked in. You're like, I'm not about this.
But yeah.
No, fucked up shit happens in Arkansas.
I believe that. And
I grew up on the border of Arkansas, I can say that, okay?
Yeah, this morning I've been reading a lot of just personal stories and antecedents about Tobe Hooper, and he sounds like the nicest guy ever.
He's a stand-up guy.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like... I'm kind of like... Also the same thing with George Romero and... Was Wes Craven? Like, you know more about Wes Craven than I do.
Oh yeah, he was a great guy.
It seems like, this old guard is kind of known for being very caring and nurturing towards this new kind of up-and-coming crop. Like,
they're really gentlemanly and very, like, you know, not sophisticated isn't the right word, but, like...
knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And, because, like, I read, James Gunn posted a touching thing about Toby. And it's just, like, whenever we hung out, we just talked about everything. And not necessarily movies. And it's just, like... I don't know. I wonder if we're going to see... Well, I hope we see this new guard
come into their own like that. Well, that's the thing. I mean, no hate to the new guard. We've talked about this before. Some of those people working today are geniuses, and I say that with absolute confidence. Jeremy Saulner, shout out. He kind of interacted with us on Twitter.
That's right.
Which made my day.
He acknowledged us.
He acknowledged us. He threw us a like. It was great. But yeah, I feel like people like Eli Roth, they just don't have the grace or, you know, I guess... like the lighter touch of the old guard, You know what I mean?
I see the old guard in Del Toro because he mentors a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially with like J.A.
Bayona. Well, Raimi too.
Yeah.
Raimi's kind of mid-guard.
Or old guard, because think about how long ago the first Evil Dead came out.
Oh God, yeah, but he was young when he made that.
That's true.
He was in college with Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I love talking about this though. I think horror has always been good and it's always been bad. You know what I mean? Like, there's never been a seminal, not decade or time period for horror. Except, well, I think early 2000s was probably not great for horror.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of remake madness, going on. But I think now we are in one of the best times for horror ever.
Like, a lot of people have rose-tinted glasses to the 80s, and rightfully so. That's a great era for horror. But don't keep those on.
Acknowledge that some of it was shit.
Don't.
Right?
Acknowledge not everything was great about the 80s, and don't let it keep you from missing a lot of the good things now.
Exactly. And I mean, like, we talk about remakes sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't necessarily bad. I feel like horror nostalgia is really powerful for a lot of people, and it kind of shuts them off to newer works.
Yeah. Like, the one Zack Snyder movie that I will really defend is his Dawn of the Dead.
I love that one.
It's a really great movie.
It is. And I mean, they're different movies, but they're both fantastic.
Like, it's very much just kind of a pure action movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, Zack Snyder, I think Zack Snyder should have stuck to horror.
Yeah. Well,
that's just my onion.
Well, I wonder how much of it is thanks to James Gunn, who did the script.
Ooh, oh yeah. You know, he also wrote the originals. He wrote the script for the Scooby-Doo movie.
What?
With Sarah Michelle Gellar.
It's amazing.
And in the first draft, Shaggy was going to be a pothead, and...
Well, obviously.
Daphne and Velma were lesbians.
Shocker.
Love it. It's supposed to be R-rated, too.
What?
That would have been lit.
My God.
That's a movie I mourn that we didn't get.
That could have been.
I know. So yeah, R.I.P. Tobe Hooper.
Yeah.
He's great.
We, now more than ever, thoughts and prayers to John Carpenter.
Oh my God, he just started another tour.
Oh yeah, he's re-releasing covers of all the themes for his movies.
Full band covers.
Like, it looks amazing.
I would love to see him live.
Same.
And he's really the last one to be kicking, which I hate so much.
Yeah.
But he's a master as well. Like, there was a show called Masters of Horror, and like
all those big names did it. Isn't Joe Dante still alive?
Yeah, I think so. I wouldn't put him kind of on the
doing.
Same level, though. I mean, he did Gremlins.
Did Piranha. That one's...
I don't know.
That one has people talking about it in corners.
That's true. I love the Piranha remake, I'll be real with you.
I hated that.
I mean, Adam Scott, bro.
I love seeing Eli Roth bite it, but...
Oh, don't we all?
Yeah.
The one thing, I will defend Eli Roth a little bit on his Hemlock Grove adaptation.
I remember seeing a werewolf transformation clip, and I was impressed by it.
Yeah. That show is trash, but I love it.
Oh my God.
It's really bad. Bill Skarsgård pre-Pennywise. First scene of the show, this girl, he's like a vampire or something, like latently.
Mm-hmm.
So not latently. So like he's kind of feeling it a little bit, and this girl gets up in class. He's in high school, of course, and goes to the bathroom. She has her period, and he goes down on her while she's on her period. So that's what you're in for. Like, first 5 minutes of Hemlock Grove. It's bad, but it's fun. Watch it.
I'm going to go. Here comes the soapbox.
Oh, God,
okay.
But I'm scared.
No, it's about Eli Roth.
Okay.
But for some reason, he was asked to direct like an animated short for the Dark Souls games.
Oh, this is a Wyatt thing.
This is me. This might just be me shouting into the void. But he made this just like grindhouse, gory little anime short that had like none of the spirit. It was like character assassination of a whole like story. Okay. And it was just
Wyatt goes hard on Dark Souls, can you tell?
That's one of my favorite things.
I mean, I can take him in small doses, like Thanksgiving or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like
Inglourious Basterds.
Yeah, oh my god, he was the best part of Inglourious Basterds.
What? There's so many good parts.
I loved the bear juice, sorry. Like, he was great in that, but don't give him a camera, please God. Like, do not. Just let him have a funny little cameo with BJ Novak.
I would love to see him make, like, a talking horror. Like, something more along the lines of what a Ty West horror movie is like.
Well, first of all, hell yeah, Ty West. I love Ty West. I loved it when he died in You're Next. He did. Eli Roth recently made Knock Knock with Keanu Reeves and two women who like come to his door at night.
Yeah, I heard about it.
I haven't seen it, but it looked more talky.
It also looked very exploitive.
Oh yeah. Oh, it looked like he was going to get them tops off, if nothing else, you know. We're kind of just, shooting the shit now, but that's fine. Have you seen the Death Note?
The movie?
Yeah,
Adam
on Netflix.
I have not. I'm curious, just because of Willem Dafoe.
Okay. I'm curious because of Lakeith Stanfield.
I've heard not great things about the whole thing.
Oh, it sounds terrible. I'm so upset about Adam, because he, like, his first two movies, well, I haven't seen the first one, I think, but I saw You're Next, and his, like, VHS one.
Which one?
I think his was the one in the first VHS, where it's the two women who kill the husband in, like, a desert motel. West. No, I thought Ty West did the haunted house one. I may be wrong. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Anyway, so whatever he did in VHS 1, I liked. Okay. Because I like both of those. And then The Guest is one of my faves. We're going to do it for Halloween during our Halloween month. But I don't know. He just seems to have lost the spirit, lost the thread. And they're making him do... No one's making him do anything. But the studios are getting him for like adaptations and remakes and reimaginings. Because Blair Witch and now Death Note, I feel like him and Simon Barrett are probably best for original content.
He's supposed to be doing Godzilla vs. King Kong, and
so that's why you were looking at me like,
And I'm just. Well, I'm also, now that Death Note has come out and I've seen the reaction, I'm like,
yeah,
please don't be going the way
of Colin. Don't
Trevorrow this.
Sorry, Colin Trevorrow, except not sorry at all. Sorry. I know what Book of Henry's about, you guys. Don't you fuck up Kylo Ren for me, bitch. Kylo Ren.
What? Oh, God.
Yeah. So, yeah, those are our thoughts on, state of modern horror.
Yeah.
Would you want to address the Joss Whedon stuff?
I would like to talk it out. You read the article that came out recently.
Oh, honey. Did I? Yes, I did.
So would you like to those listening, maybe in the future, unaware of what has happened in our day and age? Here
in late August 2017, Joss Whedon, creator of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Firefly, Angel, director of the Avengers movies, stuff like that. He's a huge guy in geekdom.
He's a big cultural icon.
Yeah, and he's widely credited with being very conscious of feminism and writing good women characters. He would always say, like, when people ask him, why do you write such in-depth women characters, he would say, because you're still asking me that question.
Yeah, like he has presented a lot of strong female characters.
Yeah, he was my hero in high school. Yeah. I started watching Buffy like 10th grade. I watched it all in a year on freaking Hulu when Hulu was free in my parents' computer.
Firefly was a very formative show for me.
And I mean, it still is. Okay, anyway, so here's the controversy. His ex-wife, Kai, they were married for a long time. She was with him all through Buffy. They recently got a divorce. So she was with him when he was like trying to sell the script for Buffy the movie. which is still a guilty pleasure for me. I like that movie. But she's come out and said he lied, manipulated to her for over a decade, almost 2 decades, because he was constantly having affairs with women who worked for him and his actresses on sets, and how he described it to her was incredibly unsettling. He said, like, he felt like he was cursed because he had all of this at his feet that he could access, but he couldn't because he was married to her. And he did this thing where he blamed the patriarchy for his dick. He's like, what? In terms of being a man, I was the perfect man. I was a good husband, and I was also sleeping with beautiful women. And so it was very, like, gaslighting, which is, you know, an abuse tactic to make you think you're in the wrong when they're in the wrong, and that you're actually kind of crazy for being upset about this. So it was not good for him, this piece. It was huge. She said she's been in therapy for complex PTSD from all of this, from being manipulated and lied to and abused for so long. So that's what's happening with Joss Whedon. And Whedon-esque, this fan site that was huge. It was a huge fan site, shut down. This week, and now it's read only, so it's like archives only. No one can post, no new posts. And they said, if you loved this website, donate to this charity for PTSD survivors.
Oh, that's good.
So they didn't directly acknowledge the article, but they did. They were like, "This is why."
And so, yeah, this recent, I don't know. I mean, it's good that this has come to light.
Oh yeah. Well, it shows the hypocrisy of, like, the guy that everyone thought was the ultimate male feminist is actually, you know, using that to manipulate, and using that to say, well, I know about the patriarchy, and I know how male power works, and I'm just a victim to it, and I'm, you know... So he's using it as an excuse.
I mean, it's awful, and it's awful having, like, such a hero to a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Johnny Depp.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So our discussion today, like right now, is what do we do with the art left by these flawed artists?
I think about this a lot, and it's really difficult, and it's gotten to the point where I don't actively look into the lives of men I admire, which... you know, is not a huge loss in my life or whatever, but the fact that I'm scared that I'm going to find out that artists I admire are actually abusers and rapists and, you know, violent towards women in their lives is something that I have to think about a lot, which sucks.
It does.
I hate it.
Casey Affleck.
We've talked about him before. Yeah, I was never a huge Casey Affleck fan, but...
I've always... thought he's been a really good actor.
Yeah.
Like, Gone Baby Gone.
He was good in To Die For, which is like a mid-90s Gus Van Sant movie. But, yeah, it's just, it seems every few months another one comes out, and it's like, oh, did you know he's, like, beat a woman almost to death?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that wasn't Casey Affleck, by the way. He was allegedly sexually harassing a coworker. But, yeah, Johnny Depp, I've forsaken him. Like, I was the biggest Johnny Depp fan. I grew up on those Tim Burton movies.
Yeah.
I loved Cry Baby. I loved all of it, you know? And then it comes out that he's beating his wife, and I just can't do it anymore, you know?
So, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard having your heroes be not heroes.
Definitely. And I mean, Joss Whedon, he was the one... I remember I'm like, I'm going to do movies now. After getting into Buffy. So, yeah, he's shaped so much of my life. And I hate it. I think his writing is still objectively good. I still objectively watch Buffy, and it's one of my favorite things. It's not, you know, completely unproblematic either. Like, they made my favorite character... like, attempted to rape Buffy at one point, at, like, one of the lowest points in the series, where they were obviously kind of going for shock value and stuff.
Is it Spike?
Yeah.
I knew you were a Spike person.
Of course I am. But, like, and that's a difficult thing to watch, and you're like, okay, how do I continue to appreciate this character or this real life person based on actions.
I saw a surprising moment of sanity on Tumblr.
Okay.
Where
was it from me?
No.
No, I'm kidding.
And because, Tumblr loves to get up in arms before thinking things through.
Yes.
But this post basically said, thank you for this important art, but I can't support you as a person anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like definitely no shame if you don't ever want to associate or consume any art by these people.
Yeah.
But it's okay to distance the art from the creator.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, I have some hard and fast rules. Like, I don't do Woody Allen. I don't, I do not support Roman Polanski. But if you look into it, like, David Bowie also statutory rape a 13-year-old, and she was like a groupie. How is that different from Roman Polanski and what he did? So... I find myself kind of bending over backwards sometimes to be like, oh, I can still like this because this, which isn't right,
Yeah.
But I don't think anything you enjoy is ideologically pure.
It's the whole issue of consumption. I would love everything to be fair trade.
Yeah.
And all the meat that I consume for it to be come from a humane source.
Yeah. But that's not going to happen.
I wish it was.
I think once it's common knowledge, am I ever going to go see a Woody Allen movie again? No. Do I think people who work with him now are kind of shady? Yes. People who work with these people and vouch for these people after all of this comes out. No.
Right.
Not about it.
As consumers, once we know the facts, I think we have, maybe, I don't know, I would still want to see a good movie. I would just, it's a conflict because,
I don't want to put money into their pockets,
right. I love Midnight in Paris.
Me too, and I saw that multiple times before I knew everything about it, or about him and his alleged, sexual abuse. It's really difficult, and a lot of people say separate the art from the artist, and I don't think you can do that fully, Yeah,
it's hard, because, I've heard stories that Michael Fassbender, domestic abuse, and it's just that he's one of my favorite actors.
Yeah. And I think your experience, lends to it, too. I'm an abuse survivor, so when I see that happen, that hits closer to home for me, I guess. So I'm I don't want to support this 100% now. But, I understand if it's, a little bit more distanced, it's not as visceral, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's what happened with Johnny Depp. Because it was someone I so admired growing up, and then this happens, and I'm well, I just can't forgive this, So now I don't fuck with him anymore.
That's fair.
But, yeah.
I wish there was a way where you could still enjoy these pieces of art without supporting the artist.
Yeah. Well, I bought my Buffy DVDs 10 years ago, and I'm still gonna watch them.
Yeah.
I'm not putting royalty checks into Joss Whedon's pocket anymore, but I get to still enjoy something that was really important to me, that has its flaws, and was super formative for me as a person, I think. Any final thoughts on the Joss Whedon issue?
Love me some Firefly, and deeply disappointed by the man.
Same. Okay, do you have personal picks today?
I do not.
Nothing?
The first week of school has hit,
and Jesus Christ, I know.
And my capacity for fun has been very limited.
Me and Wyatt are both teaching for the first time. But yeah, it's been super stressful. This weekend I've just curled up under a blanket and watched Netflix. It's been great.
So this is our fun.
Yes, this is our fun. I have a few. I feel bad for kind of dominating this episode, but next week you can make it up, okay? Is that cool?
I feel like this was a necessary discussion week.
Okay. Oh, yeah, definitely. So I have two personal picks this week. I finally saw Practical Magic. You know what that is?
Maybe.
Okay. It's this, like, 1998 movie with Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman, and they're sisters who are witches in a small New England town, and honestly, it is life goals. Everything. It's not a good movie. The plot is very silly. It's, like, not well paced at all. The dialogue's not great, but I love it with all my heart. It's so good because it's just these... They're older aunts, so, like, two sisters who are older raising the two younger sisters, and then Sandra Bullock's two daughters. So it's like 3 generations of women in this giant New England house, and they just have kitties and, like, a bunch of herbs and shit, and I love it so
That sounds like goals for
That's the goal of my life. Also, Aidan Quinn is in it.
Who's Aidan Quinn?
He's a hottie. He was a hottie in Desperately Seeking Susan.
What?
He's a babe, okay?
What are these things you're saying?
It's a really silly, good movie, though. And it's like, the Owens women, like, have been cursed that any man who loves them will die because this, like, their ancestor was abandoned when she was pregnant or something. So it's like it's a very light kind of...
Nothing says light like curses like that.
I swear. But it's a really great, like, passes the Bechdel test with flying colors. Beautiful. Nicole Kidman has never been hotter.
With her Babbitt fingers.
Shut up! Stop! No! Let her be. I love Nicole, okay? Nicole's very important to me.
I know.
But yeah, Practical Magic is adorable, and I love it, and I just want to never have to speak to a man and, like, live with my girlfriends in a giant mansion on the coast of New England.
On Bechdel Lane?
On Bechdel Lane, yes, of course. And then this one you can actually talk about with me. Jessica Jones is my second one.
Oh, man.
Yes, so...
Yeah, that could be... That's pretty horrific. There are some very horrific... things that happen.
Absolutely. I tried to watch this when it first came out, and it was a little too much for me, hit a little too close to home, but now I'm trying it again, and I love it so much. I love Jessica. It talks about some really hardcore shit.
Yeah, there's some real psychological horror that the main villain, Kilgrave, played perfectly by David Tennant.
Which is so hard because he's such a monster and a demon straight from hell, but...
He is a delightful human being.
Yeah, I was big on 10 when he was, Dr.
The doctor. He was, he was my doctor.
Yeah, he was mine too. So it's really scary and weird to see him playing this, like supernaturally... over-exaggerated, like, emotional abuser, and I think it's really important for this show. It talks about rape culture in a way that's really wonderful, not enjoyable, but in a way that really gets it, you know?
It deals with a lot of hard issues in a format that is thankfully easy to digest.
Yeah, it's in, like, a superhero format, which I'm not about superheroes. I really couldn't be bothered to care most of the time. But, Jessica is a trauma survivor, and she's dealing with PTSD, and her abuser comes back into her life. And I'm like, this is a story that needs to be told, and it's in a way that is nonetheless entertaining. All the female characters are incredibly complex and beautiful and strong and support each other. There's a lot of, kind of fighting against the man, and as the man being, the stereotypical, like, rape culture manipulator. And I don't know, it's super cathartic. I love it.
Isn't every episode directed by a woman?
I don't know about that.
I think so.
Okay.
Or at least season 2 has been confirmed to be that way.
Okay. Well, I was watching it before you came over, and I think one of the directors was, like, John something. But... yeah, it's created by Melissa Rosenberg, which is crazy because she wrote all the Twilight movies.
What?
I know, right? So I was not about it. But
the amount of people this past week that have looked at me funny because I mentioned we're going to be talking about The Host.
Not the Saoirse Ronan.
Everyone goes to Stephenie Meyer's book, and like the amount of no, Not where I'm going.
Nope. Yeah, Wyatt's finally getting judged for being into Stephenie Meyer.
The truth is out there.
But I think probably the part of Jessica Jones that illustrates it most and how just shatteringly socially applicable it is Kilgrave, the main villain. His power is you have to do anything he says. He has the power of mind control, so if he says jump off a building, you'll jump off a building. So that's how he kept Jessica under control for so long, which is so scary because it is just an exaggerated form of like emotional manipulation.
It's the superpower of gaslighting.
Yeah, exactly. And what his like catchphrase, this is so gross, but he's constantly through other people or to her, he's telling her to smile.
Yeah, like
he's like, don't forget to smile, Jessica.
He is the embodiment of the nice guy TM.
Yeah, he's the guy who passes you on the street and sees you, you know, not looking 100%. Go smile, you'll look so much prettier. And I'm like, 1, I don't exist for your pleasure.
Yeah.
2, step off.
He's the guy in the class, back class, wearing a fedora and saying, "My lady."
Yeah, and it's even worse because like I've definitely known people exactly like him. It's so awful, but in a way that, you know, you get to watch Jessica like really overcome this in a way that's really powerful. And I don't think I've had my story reflected in media like this.
Yeah,
which is.
And
fantastic.
Krysten Ritter does an amazing job with the character.
She's great. I love her.
She and Luke are also a super hot couple.
Yes.
Oh my god.
And it's not afraid to get kind of more complex and nuanced with it.
Yeah, the Netflix, excluding the Iron Fist, which was a real clustercuss, but all the Netflix Marvel shows are very adult.
Yeah, I loved Daredevil.
So did I.
Like, I don't know, I have never loved a little Catholic lawyer as much as I've loved Matt Murdock, and I think Frank Castle's right about everything. But, like, it gives them time to be complex and gray and adults about these issues. Like, I'm thinking in Jessica Jones, her best friend Trish has been attacked. She's an assault survivor, and she insults Kilgrave, and he sends this cop to her door, and the cop's like, I need to come in, blah, blah, blah. And she doesn't know whether she can trust him, so she lets him in, and he's being controlled by Kilgrave to murder her.
Yeah.
And then after that happens, he kind of snaps out of it, and he's like, I came to apologize, I'm so sorry. And she, like, won't let him in the door, and they end up having a conversation through the door, and then they kind of connect and get together, which is...
I thought they had a very healthy relationship at the beginning until he...
I might not be there yet, bro.
Oh.
Don't tell me.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Well, it embraces the kind of gray area, because this person has hurt her, but he was under the control of someone else. So it's into, you know, how sex can be used as like a tool to hurt someone or as a recovery tool, you know.
The show also touches on the horrors of drugs. You'll see it later on, like Kilgrave preys on people already weak, and also that includes like drug users.
Yeah. It's surprisingly nuanced. How's that? I really love it.
Have you seen Luke Cage yet?
No, I haven't. I've seen part of it.
Like, the story gets weak as it goes on, but I love seeing, like, an emotionally healthy black superhero who's bulletproof in a hoodie.
Yeah.
Like, that's a very powerful image to me.
I think this Netflix superheroes are kind of the last bastion of superheroes I give a damn about. Because they're allowed to be...
I don't think they're the last bastion. I think they're the first, because I think this is a new wave.
Okay. I just kind of meant in terms of Marvel and what they're doing right now. I don't really care about anything except the Netflix people.
I don't know. Black Panther looks pretty...
I'll go see Black Panther. Yes, I will. Of course I will. Like, I'm a decent person. Of course I'm going to go see Black Panther. And Thor 3 because of Taika Waititi. But, like, I didn't see Spider-Man. I didn't see Guardians of the Galaxy 2. But Jessica Jones is doing it for me right now.
That's a good recommendation.
Yeah, I love it. So Practical Magic, if you need to recover from Jessica Jones with some beautiful feminine love and magic, witchcraft. So that's it's your Saturday night. Watch Jessica Jones and be sad and cry a little bit, and then watch Practical Magic and be like,
quite the lineup.
Yes! Yeah, it's great.
Well, that's it for this week. Thank you for putting up with us as we went to some really needed heavy places.
Yeah, we kind of got off track, but I loved it. We should go off track a little bit more.
I liked it.
See you guys next week.
Bye.
He behaved like a man demented, obsessed, utterly lost.